Trying any anime is like getting into a stranger's car. Most of the time, you're already locked in before you realize you're being taken advantage of. On rare, I mean extremely, exceedingly rare, almost non-existent occasions, you might be in for a pleasant surprise. But in my own personal experience, as somebody who's sampled various animes over the years, you're more likely to stumble onto something featuring a girl of questionable age than you are to stumble on something worth watching. You're gonna have to take my word on it, but I've tried, and I mean really, really tried. At one point, I had a friend group that was almost only focused on that as their, I don't know how to say it, point of conversation, I guess. And I felt kind of socially compelled and pressured to give it a bash, but I just kept scratching my head and thinking to myself, I must be the fucking idiot. I do not get this. And although I have a couple theories on that, which I will get to, it's probably best if we first do the foreplay. With any good foreplay, it always begins with the teeth. So let's go into what anime does right. The first and most obvious being the high-octane action fight scenes as well as the insanely stunning visual styles. In cartoon format, stretches of the imagination foreskin can gape as wide as one needs. You can make the improbable look smooth and clean in a way that live action simply can't. It's like when you're watching Luffy in One Piece and he does his cum gum blum blum in your bum bum special attack move. Although it will leave you in awe when it's in animation form, it comes across goofy and stilted in live action. And I would say most of the time, but it's almost all of the time, comes across as TikTok acting, where everything is hyper and nobody acts like a real human being. Side note, and something that's kind of related, do you want to know a nice life hack for all of you filmmakers out there? If you can take a fight scene and sync it up with Linkin Park, and more specifically Save Me, you've got a top tier action scene. This goes across the board, and if it was good enough for Goku v Broly, it's good enough for anything. Wake me up! Wake me up inside! Wake me up! Wake me up inside! Save me from myself! Because when it comes to fight scenes, all you kind of want the audience to react with is, nice dude, and not seek any deeper meaning. The first thing that anime does really well is voice acting. It could be the aforementioned very questionable aged woman, and or a character who's a grizzled samurai whose entire clan has been slaughtered. In either case, those cheeky f***s do their research and make it sound as authentic as it possibly can. And finally, the last thing that the Japanese do really good is goofy character development. It's not enough for the Japanese to write a well-rounded character with interesting motives, and I mean it's literally not because they can't do it half the time, so instead they opt for goofy and fantastical characters who are larger than life and normally have some special unique quality to them. If executed well, it can be really entertaining, even though most of the time it just amounts to that character being a pervert of some sort. And for me, fellas, that's where my father's voice comes out to describe myself and other aspects of anime as a whole. Worthless. My biggest gripe with anime as a whole has to do with the classic subs versus dubs debate. And unfortunately, I'm gonna have to bushy burp some of my meat riding on that voice actor stance I took, because to me it doesn't deserve a conclusion. What I mean is I don't understand the debate at all, seeing as I have absolutely no fucking idea how anybody can possibly stomach listening to a dubbed version of an anime in any form.
I'll take a potato chip and eat it.
When you translate Japanese to English, obviously a lot of things are lost. But that shouldn't mean that it's nearly impossible to listen to the characters interact, because the way they talk to one another is not only impossible for two humans to communicate this way, but is unbearably cringe to listen to. Anime as a whole, whether in Japanese and or English, suffers from a lack of the golden rule of both storytelling and visiting your cousin who's 20 years older than you. You show, but you never tell. When a character interacts with another character in traditional media, you're meant to interpret the emotions and or motivations of what they're trying to get out of this conversation. This can be done through visual cues, earlier plot points coming back into relevancy, and a whole lot of twinkle toeing around the bush. Characters meant to determine how they feel towards another character from the words they say, the actions they do, and how they are. Normal human behavior, right? Like you, who's an avid anime fan, is probably pulling your face right now because some jerk off on the internet's making fun of your adult cartoons. Well, I'll do you a favor, seeing as your brain is so rotten from watching these cartoons, and do what the anime does. Sugoi! You're f***ing stupid. And by the way, you should feel bad about it. You see what I just did there? Of course you do. You recognize it from your baby cartoons. Instead of allowing you to come to your own conclusion about how you were meant to feel about that statement I just said, aka me calling you f***ing stupid, I told you how you were meant to feel, and now it's your turn to do the exact same thing back to me. Oh yeah, Dino, well, you're mean and you should feel bad about that. I just shit myself like the baby that I am. My 4 minutes of purely bullying something you're incredibly passionate about aside, I do have to give one of your stupid baby cartoons credit for actually executing itself really well. So no, the title wasn't a lie and it wasn't just an excuse to bring you in and harass you. Ninja Kamui is a brand new anime published on Adult Swim as of 2024, actually at the start of this month I believe. It is directed by the newly legendary Sungwoo Park, or Sungwoo Park. You may know him for his hand in the work of, god damn it, let me read this, Jujutsu Kaisen, which I am told was an incredibly popular Shonen Jump manga that was then adapted into an incredibly popular Shonen Jump anime. Shonen Jump have had their hands in some of the more popular animes of all time, such as Naruto, Bleach, and One Piece, I think? Oh, and of course Dragon Ball Z, how could I forget? Rest in peace, the creator. Your show was ass, but I liked it as a kid. Point being, Park has had some experience in crafting high-level anime stories that are beloved by millions. Thank God he didn't utilize what he learned from that kaijin, oh, whatever the this thing, in this show, Ninja Kamui. Because Ninja Kamui might actually be the nearest thing to perfect that an anime can be. This is the plot of Ninja Kamui in its entirety. A badass ninja has a family. That badass ninja's family gets murked. Badass ninja goes and destroys the organization that controls the world. There's very little to almost no plot in between, unless you count the FBI subplot, and every character is super basic with a dash of the Japanese character tropes that I mentioned earlier, meaning they're all distinctive, but don't actually have any personality. My favorite one, of course, being the most racist representation of a black dude, where it's one of the bad guys who has an afro and talks like a 1980s street guy.
Probability is pardon me. Big D? Big D? Are you listening?
Let me just say my fresh cut is looking super fly today. And if this ninja dares to try and mess up my new fade, he's dead.
I respect the hell out of the Japanese because they do not care. If I grew up in Japan, I would assume every black dude spoke like this, and all they cared about was looking super fly, G. This dude in Killer Bee. Big props, my dudes.
My wife's boyfriend told me to be quiet, so I have to use to text to voice for this part, but I totally forget another goat character in this show has to be the little person whose entire persona is being hella horny. Japan, baby, they truly can't help themselves.
What I'm trying to get at is the plot does not matter at all. All that matters is the badass ninja dude teams up with the badass FBI dude and they do badass shit for a badass 20 minutes. That's all you need. Visually, it's absolutely stunning, and whoever choreographed these fight scenes is absolutely a G. You physically can't look away. Those two elements combined alone make this worth watching, but the fact as well that the Japanese voice acting is so good that you actually feel passionate whenever they're about to go down means that this is probably the best anime of the year so far. That's all, dude. From a guy who distinctly detests anime, I can tell you the reason why Ninja Kamui works so well is because it's simple and there's no overemphasizing on Japanese features, which is another theory I have, and since I've already been pounding you, I may as well finish up. I think part of the reason why anime is so hard to watch is because of a lack of Western influence. It's Japanese. They're supposed to have Western influence. You only saying that because you are Western. Right, calm down. Calm. In my experience, every anime that I've seen that has features of Western influence tends to be incredible. Actually, let me reel that back in. Tends to be moderate to incredible. Off the top of my head, The Great Pretender, Attack on Titan, obviously, Violet Evergarden, Full Metal Alchemist, Death Note, Afro Samurai, Vinland Saga, and of course Psycho-Pass are all incredibly inspired by Western influences. And every single one of those adult cartoons or baby shows that I just listed are fantastic watches because of it. To me, I think the sweet spot of anime is either you do a simplistic version of what you're trying to do, meaning the plot doesn't matter at all and it's just visually nice to look at like Ninja, or you take a Western element based story and you combined it with the anime with a few sprinkles of Japanese influence, obviously, but not too much so it becomes cringe. What I'm trying to articulate, homie, is I think in a perfect world, if you were going to craft the perfect anime, sorry, I made myself sick saying that sentence, is you need to hold hands. Take the elements of the visual style from the Japanese, absolutely bin the story because they are too direct with their language, and then take the story from the Western end where our storytelling is more indirect. And suddenly you have yourself a masterpiece in the middle, like The Last Airbender, the greatest anime ever made. Or just do what Ninja Kamui said, a big old this to everything. We don't need any plot, we're just gonna make you splooge via our visuals. Speaking of splooging because of visuals, you've had plenty of time to do so while watching me. So the least you can do is please splooge on the subscribe button for me. If anime is your thing and you've already started writing a 20-page paragraph down in the comments explaining to me why I'm wrong, I'm just gonna explain to you now I truly do not care and I will not read it. Thanks as always, homies. I'll see you later. Bye bye.